Alice and I are always looking to be more healthy, and we were just talking about how fasting is one of the best ways to do that, but it's so hard. But the great thing about Prolon is that's not what you're doing. It's not that you're not eating for 5 days. Instead, you're using their science-backed program to convince your body you're fasting.
You guys, this 5-day program really is amazing. It comes beautifully packaged and it does all the thinking for you. Each day is its own box. And by following their program, I know I just feel so much better. And I can't wait to experience Prolong Next Gen and continue to see results. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolong is offering the Prosecutors listeners 15% off site-wide plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/prosecutors. That's PROLONLIFE.com/prosecutors to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/prosecutors.
This episode of The Prosecutors is brought to you by Huggies Little Movers. Get your baby's butt in a Huggies best-fitting diaper. Huggies Little Movers. We got you, baby.
I'm Jamie Beebe.
And I'm Jake Deptula. We're the host of the Strictly Stalking podcast.
Strictly Stalking is a true crime podcast that explores stalking stories told by the survivors in their own words.
Join us every Tuesday as we interview survivors, advocates, and experts to give you a deep dive into the workings of a stalking case.
Would you know where to turn if you or someone you know is being stalked? We'll also give you the resources to fight back, know your rights, and get justice.
Find Strictly Stalking wherever you listen to podcasts from Podcast One.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Alice.
And we are The Prosecutors. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. This is just my stage in life. I found a Santa hat, but my son ripped off the pom-pom.
I've still got mine. My Santa hat's a little too small for my head, but
Mine's
there
a
you
little
go.
small too. I'm not
Of
gonna
course,
lie.
Jason pulls out the perfect one.
Look at that. Look at that. Okay.
All right.
I'm super excited. This is
Super
like
excited.
my dream come true
Yes.
This is, I guess, our holiday party.
This is our holiday party. Exactly. And some of you, if you're watching right now, you see there's more than 2 people on the screen. We brought the whole team here today. We've got the amazingly creative Hannah Hill, artist who does all of our artwork, who's really the best part of the podcast. As we've said, there are many times the artwork is better than the episode. So thank you all for humoring us.
She's also like the essence of the podcast because she believed in the podcast before we did. Hannah,
she absolutely did.
You brought it to life. I want to ask you so many questions of how you even like.
To say.
There's a lot. I cannot wait to hear because I've wanted to ask you for a long time. But I just want you to know you are the essence because people text us about the artwork more than the substance.
Yes, we often get a lot of really good. So and Hannah's amazing.
Thank you.
She just one day was like, "Hey guys, do you care if I do some artwork for you for free?" And
we were like, "What?"
Sure. Like 37 people listen to the podcast, but feel free if you want to. So she is the longest term member of the team, other than Allison.
Really is.
Appreciate it.
No, we can't wait to hear your origin story.
And then we have the master of all things sound, Santa Claus himself, Jason Ussery. Welcome, Jason Ussery. It's so good to have you. So good to have you here. And Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. So glad.
And then the newest member of the family, Madison.
And quickly becoming the most important because Brett and I because Brett and I could not do what we do without Madison's amazing research.
Madison, who is so deep diving, Madison, most awesome new member of the team, newest member of the team. Thank you so much, Madison, for joining us. I have to tell you, Madison, I have to apologize to you for something. Somehow, and I'm not sure how I did it, I started an internet rumor about you. I have to apologize. So there's currently this, I don't know if conspiracy is the right word, that you are responsible for all of the terrible things we did to Adnan Syed. That you spent a year researching that case. And so people are really mad at you. And you are currently researching West Memphis 3. So they're going to be on you for that too. So you better do a better job.
I gotta make sure I'm not in yellow pages.
So Madison, tonight you get to clear the air.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And
Disavow,
throw us back under
Madison.
the bus.
Disavow.
Disavow everything. But
So anyways,
I really am so glad that you guys get to hear from the people who are behind this podcast. They don't get to be out in front. They've never asked for recognition, but they deserve so much recognition because number one, they believed in me and Brett, which is huge because these people, they could be doing what they do at the tops of their fields for anyone else, and they chose to devote their time and their intelligence and their creativity to us. And that means the world to me and Brett. And second, they are just incredible people who are so much more than just this podcast. And I am looking forward to all of you getting to know them better as well.
absolutely. Hannah, you just got recognized. I liked your post on Instagram. What are you? Tell everybody what you're in.
Thank you. Yeah, today I made the 10 painters to watch on Nylon Magazine.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Hannah, that is
Thank you.
incredible. Okay, before we dive in, Hannah, you are an incredible artist in your own right. People who see any artwork affiliated with our podcast, whether it's the little icon they see when they click on, the podcast to listen, or when we show up at CrimeCon with stickers and all the things that you made for us before we even knew we were supposed to have swag. It's all attributable to Hannah's creativity. And I cannot say this with enough emphasis. We don't tell her what to do at all. We are the worst people she could probably do work for because we're like, here's the name of the case. Good luck. And she somehow it captures the essence. So Hannah, before we dive in, can you tell people how they can find your artwork, what you do outside of the podcast so people can find your artwork?
Yeah. Well, I'm an artist. I'm from Alabama originally, although I do not know Brett and Alice, which is funny. Well, I do now, obviously, but didn't before. Roll Tide, also, obviously. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. I would say the best way to see my work would be on Instagram. And from Instagram, you can find a lot of links there. And my name is, and it's too far gone now for me to change it to something more professional, but it's Serious_Moonlight. MOONLITE. It's a David Bowie reference, if some people don't get it. But it's too far gone now. That's where you can see all of my art, anything I'm doing. I post just like highlights, and then there's links there to like buy pieces or, send me messages, whatever you want. Like, I love interacting with people. Every once in a while, I've gotten a message from a listener, and it's just like warmed my heart so much.
That's awesome.
Thanks for
you guys should let her know. You don't have to just let us know how awesome she is. Let her know. If you look over my shoulder, there's a piece of her artwork hanging on my wall. So you can see it there as well, but you can't have it. Sorry. That was mine.
And
next to it,
the prosecutor sign is also Hannah's artwork. So there's like artwork she sells, like in a gallery and is in a museum. And then there's also artwork she just like created for us. And that was before you knew what we looked like, Hannah, but you captured what we look like.
I had to guess.
Kind of, yeah, it's kind of weird.
I was like,
she's
right.
that good.
All right. Ponytail. Does Brett have one?
I should have paid you money to make him have a ponytail. What was I thinking?
Google deep diving for that.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Okay, with that though, Hannah, you reached out to us. We didn't reach out to you. In the first couple months of our podcast, when we're not kidding, we had like dozens of listeners. No, I don't think we'd reached hundreds of listeners yet.
That was based purely on my data that I was gathering. I was like, I'm going to do art for a true crime podcast. I'm sick of seeing these terrible episode, art thumbnails. But I want one that's like, I want to get in on the ground floor, and I want one that I like, obviously. So I listened to went to like new podcasts in the true crime, and I literally listened to like probably 100 different podcasts, or skimmed some of them. I can skip right away, but then I heard them, and I was like, I did hear Brett's accent, and I was like, and also
sounds like home.
what they're talking about. So I only emailed one of them, and it was you guys, and and I'm happy. Look how it's turned out for me.
I did not know this was the story. I did not know you were looking to do podcast artwork.
Yeah.
And it was like Behind the Mask, or what's it called? All the reality shows. We passed.
Yeah. Love is blind, truly.
Love is truly blind. Can I ask, which episode did you listen to that you're like, you know what? I'm going to tie myself to these yahoos.
Oh my gosh. Okay, forgive me. I don't remember the title of it, but it was like the guy with the chickens, I think.
Oh, Billy Woodward. Yeah.
Wow.
I skimmed whatever you had out. I skimmed all of it. Once I had kind of narrowed it down, I was like, I skimmed all of it, and I was like, yeah, this one. Yeah.
I mean, you were really in on the ground floor. I mean, you really were. And then she just like cranked out, and she did all the back catalog and then going forward. And you probably did it for us for months before we, had any money to actually pay you some semblance of what you're worth. We don't even approach what she's worth. But
we do not approach what she's worth. The fact this was incredible. I remember you said, would it be okay if I did artwork? First of all, would it be okay? Are you kidding me? Yes. But it was the backlog, because truly, I would look at a picture, and before, I knew which episode it was tied to, you would know exactly what we were talking about, and it hit exactly what the case was. And I asked Brett multiple times, I was like, is she actually an investigator? Because she hones in on the exact facts of the case that make you like a light bulb, right? So I've actually said that multiple times, Hannah.
Stop. Don't stop. Keep going. I'm just kidding. No, literally, it's my dream to be an investigator. Like, obviously I'm an artist, but so I do want to, and I am deep into the true crime world on my own personally, and I have been for many years. So I was already very familiar with a lot of things. But my favorites are the ones I don't know that you guys send me. And then I get to put my Madison hat on and do a little research. And I am thrilled to do it.
Well, that's awesome. And you're awesome. And thank you so much for being a part of it. I now feel blessed to be a part of your career. Like, just to see everything you're accomplishing. Are you in the residency now, or is that coming up later? Or have you already been through that?
The residency is done. So what I do is basically I have a studio up here. Right now I'm sort of in between, but I go to different residencies. Right now I'm only doing ones that are fellowships, meaning it's funded. So I go there and I make new bodies of work. Sorry. Yeah, for free.
It's good to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Usually the food's pretty good. A lot of butternut squash. But I like to go around, semi-international, and make different bodies of work. And then I spend my time when I'm home, just like making money and doing the administrative work behind it. I have a graphic novel that I'm working on that I do that's digital. So I do that, and I apply for other opportunities, grants, and stuff like that when I'm not at a residency. So,
well, I just want everybody to know, in my cup here, I made mulled wine tonight. So, trying to go all out with this whole Christmas thing.
The Glühwein.
Oh, there you see. Look at that. You pronounce it better than I do. If I tried to pronounce it, it would sound terrible, as everybody knows. So, I'll just go with mulled wine. But that's
part of the charm.
Exactly. Well, Hannah, you're awesome. Don't go away. I have all sorts of questions for everybody, but I do want everybody to introduce themselves to people who don't know them. All right, Jason, as the second most tenured, fourth, depending on how you count it, most tenured member of the podcast, introduce yourself to everyone so they know who you are.
I think everybody knows me.
No. Tell us, Jason, other than... First, I want to know what else you do, because you actually wear so many hats and you have your hand in a lot of podcasts, not just ours. So let our listeners know, a little bit about you and how creative you are.
Well, okay. So, I started in the television business, and, that's not very fun. So I decided I want to get to podcasting and found out that wasn't very fun until I met you guys and some of the other shows that I get to work with. I've worked on a lot of different shows, which is really, really kind of cool. And I've written screenplays. I've had a couple of movies produced. I've got a couple in post-production right now. So yeah, I've done a lot of different things, but I love the community that you guys have built very much. You guys are so genuine and kind. And that's sort of my whole shtick with my show, Say I May Be a Criminal, is sort of being nice and finding the nice things in life. So yeah, that's me.
Well, Jason, it's funny. Everybody seems like they just came along at the perfect time. Hannah gave us our artistic direction when we didn't even know we needed one. And then when we didn't even know we needed an editor, Jason shows up and we're like, what did we do before Art? And what did we do before Jason? We're about to say, what did we do before Madison? When we get to Madison, but Jason, we were at Las Vegas. It's crazy to me that it hasn't been that long. We were at Las Vegas talking about this.
It's like 1 year ago.
I know.
And Jason, I actually met you in Austin.
Yes, you did meet me in Austin.
We met in Austin. Brett couldn't make it, of course, because thankfully baby Brett is all healthy now. But at the time, we were like in the thick of it. So I was there by myself. I didn't know anyone. And I remember you coming up to me and I was like, thank goodness, someone to talk to.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I know, so I was writing Santa May Be a Criminal even before that. And I reached out to you guys too, just to say like, hey, this is kind of a weird request, but can I satirize you guys in a show? And you
the
were
funny
both like,
thing about
yes.
it, this was like, it's like with Hannah, once again, like 37 people listen to us.
No, but
Hannah.
How did you find us to satirize us? Because you usually satirize
so
people
early
who
on.
are easy to recognize. Nobody knew who we were.
I don't know how I found you guys. It was likely through somebody like Tim and Lance or True Crime Garage or somebody like that I listened to both of them regularly, and I've done a lot of work for Tim and Lance. But I just I've told people so many times that there was something about the two of you and your chemistry that made me feel like this is a special thing. And I didn't know how big your show was at all. I knew that I just enjoyed it, and I was writing something that I enjoyed, and maybe nobody had listened to it, but I would be happy to work with people that made me feel like I supposed you made other people feel like, So yeah, and so I reached out to you guys, and you guys were like, we're all in, and you've both been such amazing supporters of me and the show, and that means more to me than you could ever possibly know. Like it's really special, and to be able to join and be a part of the team and what you guys have done, and the really thoughtful and careful way that you approach your show, the empathy you show to victims and their families. I just think it's like what you guys do is really special, and to be a small part of that is really special to me. So y'all are awesome, and I'm so glad that I got to do this. And I harassed Brett in Las Vegas. I was like, do you need an editor? I'm very cheap. Hire me. And he was like, how much do you guys? And I was like, not much. Hire me. And then he'd been, was like, let's give this a try. Let's kind of do this, see how this works. And you guys have been so awesome since then. And so I just really appreciate the opportunity to be able to hang out with you guys. And then for anybody that doesn't know, Brett let me tag along to the LSU game this year, and we had the best time. It was awesome. The one of the best, top 5 best things in my life was sitting there screaming my lungs out in Bryant-Denny Stadium while Bama beat LSU. Sorry, Jill or anybody else in the chat there. LSU.
And Jason, he didn't know at the time that if we had lost, he could never have come back.
That's right. Now I have a free pass to come back whenever I want. So.
Exactly.
But yeah, so and then also the other thing too that was interesting, if I could just say real fast, is that,
of course,
for that trip I bought the baby Brett's, and one of the things I found was a sloth ornament because we had watched Slaughterhouse the week before, and oldest baby Brett was wearing a Christmas sloth shirt when I got there, which I had obviously no idea about. So it was very, very
serendipity.
It was serendipity. So I don't know. It was cool. And I appreciate being a part of the coolness that you guys offer. So thank you. And I love you both.
I love
Well,
it.
we
Thank
love
you
too.
for coming up to us and being like, you really need an editor.
Yeah, we
And
really
thank
did.
you for, we didn't know. We didn't know anything. We're a bunch of like rubes over here who are like, make a podcast, and we have no idea what we're doing. But
Like, I didn't know how to do compression at all. I was like, I don't know how this works. So it's
I literally
nice to have
couldn't turn
Jason
on my microphone. Jason was like, Alice, do you see that button? Push it. And I was like, oh my gosh. That was an actual conversation we had.
Yeah. It worked out well to have Jason. Now Jason's doing the Consult podcast as well.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And you
of
guys
course,
made that possible too. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you connecting us.
And then, of course, Santa May Be a Criminal. If you're not listening to it, now is definitely the time to catch up. It's just getting good. There's going to be more Sally and Chet, and that's really the best. The best characters are just now taking the stage.
Sorry, I'm still chuckling at the fact that he asked to satirize us. So, Jason, I want you to know we looked at that email together and we're like, are we being punked? Like, who would want to satirize us? Nobody knows who we are. And we kind of looked at each other. We're like, sure, why not?
I love it.
We satirize ourselves every week. So
we really do.
I love it.
All right, don't go anywhere.
Nope.
Putting Madison on the main stage.
Madison. This is a cool main stage. Oh, you guys, we are so lucky to have Madison here. And I mean that in so many ways. So Brett and I, we may or may not, I don't know, bite off more than we can chew on a regular basis. Like our full-time jobs, our kids, and then doing 2 podcasts. And Madison just happens to be like one of the smartest, best researchers that exist, period. And she, I'm putting it in quotes, applied to us to do research for us. And we were like, what? What kind of a resume is this? And she has been just doing some of like, you guys send a request over and we're really bad with giving direction. We just like forward it all to Madison. We're like, help, make it something good. And she sends back like just gold. So, thoroughly researched. She obviously, I mean, a good researcher is one who goes down all these research trails, citations, but also she knows how we like to put timelines together and has like researched to precision how our scripts are in order to match so that you can't even tell the difference between kind of like our old stuff and things that Madison's working on.
And as Madison, Gina says, she has the best background for this.
She is Christmas.
Yeah, she is Christmas. So Madison, how exactly did you end up finding us?
So I found you guys because I was a huge fan, a listener first, and I found you when there was kind of a rumbling that Scott Peterson maybe was innocent, and that was like broke my brain. And I needed somebody to tell me that he wasn't. And so that's how I found you guys. Been listening ever since. And then I just DM'd you on Instagram one day, basically looking for advice on, how to become a researcher, if you guys needed any researchers. And here we are.
Well, tell us about that, because why were you looking to do research for a podcast? Because you have a former life before doing research for us.
Yeah, so I work full-time in finance, managing investments in low-income housing, which is, I love it in a different way, but I've always been super interested in true crime. I've loved podcasts, and I just kind of wanted to be involved in a more active way versus just listening. So I just figured I would reach out and see if anything came of it.
And if you're out there listening, Madison is very interested in the whole sort of broadcasting, communications, that whole world. So if you're looking for somebody who's really good at this stuff, Madison's somebody to reach out to. Obviously, if you reach out to us, we're happy to put you together with her if it's the right opportunity. Then we'll screen it.
Thank you.
But we want Madison to
Yeah.
be able to do as much as she wants to do because she is awesome. And, you know, I still don't actually know how we did it before Madison came along. Once again, you just came at the perfect time because we were sort of, life was getting more complicated. Life was getting more busy. The podcast was getting more busy. And it's just been so helpful to have you. I just envisioned you would do the basic research and give us sort of a baseline and we would build off that. But you really do an awesome job. I mean, usually I go through your outlines and, you know, do a little research of my own, but there's not a whole lot you leave out. So you're just an absolute blessing. We're really happy you came along when you did.
You.
And I hope all of you guys will stay forever. You can never leave.
Yes. And I have to tell a Madison anecdote because like when we say she doesn't leave anything out, I mean, this is like, you know, near the beginning, we're getting to know each other. And she's like, yes, I'm going to dive into this case. And she starts researching. And then she starts sending us emails like, hey, there's this other book that someone's written about it. I feel like to do good research, I should just read this entire book. Is that cool? And I was like, yeah, that's very cool. It's hard to ask people to kind of go above and beyond, but that's Madison because she obviously is incredibly intelligent, but has like this natural curiosity that leads her to all the right sources and she devours them. So no, her research is not Reddit. She is consuming, you know, these first resources and looking for kind of the best written sources on it and not just reading the blurb, but being the one who reads it all, which we would love to do for every case, but it just gets harder when, you know, we have many cases. The thing is, research takes a long time, as Madison can tell you. And so we don't just do these cases or these shows off the cuff. And so we usually have a lot of these cases kind of in the can. And then we record also well in advance because it takes a while to put it all together. So Madison, do you want to talk, you know, a lot of people I think have expressed interest in us in doing what you do. You know, what do you do when you get a case that you've never heard about? So it's not a famous case, you know, splashed across the news. What do you do first to kind of familiarize yourself with the case?
Usually the first thing I'll do is try to find a podcast. I love podcasts. If there's another one out there, I feel like it's a nice way to kind of hear about the case tied up in a pretty bow. I usually try to listen to something, watch something, and then read a bunch of somethings. So podcast is where I start. Honestly, even though just a quick Google search just to get a basic idea of what I'm even looking at here. But I think researching is easier than people might think as long as you're interested in what you're looking into. It's not a book report if you enjoy doing it, you know? So it's maybe one of the only careers where hyperfixating is an advantage. You just start looking and then you go from there. But yeah, that's typically how I start.
That's great, Madison. And one other thing that you said that's really good there, and this is the same thing that we say is applicable in court, is when you're researching or you're reading something, you naturally have questions. We all do, right? And good researchers like you go look for answers to those questions and kind of don't push those questions aside and ever have that curiosity. And there's really no end to research. That's the hard part about research too, is you have to kind of arbitrarily decide this is over for now because we have to move on with our lives. But that's where kind of intelligence and experience comes to play, because you have to know when is the right time to be able to say, there is no pretty bow on any research, on any case, but I'm going to have, this is the best that it's going to be, and this is the way the story should be told here.
Yeah, totally. I find myself having to go back and be like, okay, I don't think that Brett and Alice need to know that this victim got in a car accident 4 years before anything happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. But yeah, it can be a balance figuring out what's important and what's maybe we don't need to mention it.
Some people have never found that balance. But and Madison, much like Alice, is in addition to having full-time career, she's also a full-time mom and, you know, somehow finds time to help us. So we're so thankful to have you, Madison, to have you all Just want you to know this Christmas, I'm getting you all a year-long subscription to the Jelly of the Month Club. So enjoy your jelly. It's a gift that keeps on giving all year long. So thank you so much. That's my gift to you, though, to ensure that you don't go away. Okay, now we have questions for the whole group. People are writing questions in the chat room. I want to know, not to put you all on the spot and, maybe show that you don't actually listen to the show, what your favorite episodes were this year. And to be fair, I'll start with myself. And then Alice, and then we'll just move along from there. So be thinking about it. What your favorite episode was from this year.
Is this for the calendar year?
I think for the calendar year. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you want to go back further, I don't care. Whatever you want to say doesn't matter. I'm gonna do the year. Alice and I did this last year, so you guys didn't get to do it last year. So if your favorite episode is from last year, that's fine.
And you can pick from legal briefs too if you want.
Yeah, if you want to do legal briefs.
If you want.
If you want. No pressure. No pressure. So I've got to think about this for a while because I knew I was going to ask this question. I think for me, I always like the episodes that kind of surprise me and people's reaction to them. And one thing that I'm continuously learning while we do this podcast is we're never careful about the things we say. We just tell you a lot what we think. We shoot you straight. We try to be authentic. We try to be real with you. And so sometimes I'm amazed by the things we say that really touch people. And the Liskey family murders was not a case that I thought would touch people, but we got so much feedback from people dealing with similar circumstances. For those of you who don't remember, in that case, it was a very tragic family murder committed by the son who was struggling with some really deep mental issues. And the family had tried to get him help, and they just really didn't know how to handle it. And there was really no good way to handle it. And it ended in the most awful possible way. And we talked about that a lot, about how the struggle and that there were probably people out there who were going through that. And we got overwhelming response from people. So many emails, DMs, messages from people who were going through the exact same thing, and how much it meant to them that we talked about it in a way that didn't blame them and didn't judge them. Because you guys all know how it is. Having someone in your family with those kind of mental issues can come with a stigma, and it can be the kind of thing that, can be quote unquote embarrassing. That goes back a long way. So I think sort of talking about those things in a very clear way, it meant a lot to a lot of people. And so that episode ended up meaning a lot to me. So I think that's going to be my favorite episode from this year, just because of that. I love seeing that kind of stuff. So that made me really happy to see it, even though obviously that was a tragic episode and the stories people would tell us were really sad. But the fact that they felt like they could share it and then it meant something to them meant a lot to me. So that's mine.
That's a good one, Brett. Okay, to buy more time for everyone else who you've put on the spot. So this is hard because we've covered a lot this year, but I think my favorite ties in with my personal life and a lot of kind of my own personal journey. And that's what these stories do, right? They allow us to kind of live our own experiences through another lens. And for me, it would be the Murdaugh series, and specifically the last episode. And the reason is, if you guys remember, I truly cannot believe we're at the end of 2023, but I was very pregnant throughout all of the Murdaugh series, and we were covering the trial in real time and working full time. So, quite literally, we were working. I was trying to make frozen meals so that we had food to eat when the baby came, and trying to decorate a nursery and trying to take care of my other kids and trying to work and, tie up my cases so that I could leave for maternity leave. And then, of course, the trial of the century happens. And the only way you can really cover a case that is in trial, 10 hours a day, is you can't, right? And somehow, Brett, I don't know how we did it, but you listen to it on 100 speed. I couldn't quite listen to it that fast. So I would just have to it was the epitome of listening while I bathed the kids, listening on 5 times speed as I was doing grocery shopping and this and that, just trying to get through the trial so that we could cover it at night. And we felt it was really important to do that because there was so much media coverage about it that was meant for the shock and awe, right? Was meant for, clickbait's not the right word, but it was meant to make splashing news. But there was so much that people wanted to understand, and I felt like there was a thirst to truly understand our judicial system. And it was a special time. There are always cases that grab people's attention, but not all the time that there's going to be a case that's steeped in the legal, kind of basis of our country. And there are so many questions of why certain things happen in our judicial system that people were watching and they wanted to know. And for the most part, it wasn't being explained in the media. And I felt like there was a place for us to teach a lot of people about like Civics 101 through this wildly interesting case that people naturally gravitated towards already. And they had natural questions that came out of every day's trial that I really felt like we had a role to fill there. And not only were we racing against the clock because there was the, one day of trial and then having to cover it. So like quite literally racing against the clock during the day, but we were racing against the clock because you never know how long trial is going to go. And I was like on the cusp of giving birth. And we didn't know how, when the case was going to be submitted to the jury. And once the jury got it after weeks and weeks of this trial, whether they would also deliberate for weeks or if they could return a verdict before I had to go give birth. And there were long jokes, except not really. We were like, should we take a microphone to the hospital because this really might happen? And somehow it all came together that I think we were recording on a Friday or a Saturday night, and I went to the hospital on Sunday. So the verdict came back. We immediately hopped on a live. I mean, I don't even think we finished listening to the verdict, because the thing with trials, though, is that you don't have to read a bunch of opinions. You don't have to wait on courts. And so we jumped on, recorded our last Murdaugh episode, and I shut down my computer, which was like a big deal because I never shut down my computer, but I needed to shut it down because I was like on the way to the hospital. And then baby Brittany was born. And so in a lot of ways, that case is so wrapped up in my year, because the biggest question for me and for a lot of you listening, other than the legal questions, was how can a father who seems to love his own flesh and blood kill his flesh and blood? And it was something that as I was getting ready to welcome new life into this world, to have to grapple with that in a legal sense, but then also in a personal sense, was very, very difficult. And I don't think I let on while we were recording that, but it affected me very deeply to even exist in a world where a father could kill his own child for seemingly little reason. But I did believe the evidence, and I did believe that was what happened. And so grappling with the reality of human nature as I was about to have my own baby was this existential journey for me. So Murdaugh is always going to be very special to me. And it was the longest series ever. So that's my answer.
It was the longest series.
I was trying not to say Adnan today. I was trying not to say. And the only reason Murdaugh wasn't that long is because we were recording 5 days a week. I mean, I lost my voice at some point because we were recording so much. So that's the only reason it didn't last 3 months, is because we were trying to keep up with trial.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Wondery.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistant's assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Wondery and use code WONDERY at checkout.
You talk about Murdoch till the end of time, really. And hey, maybe we'll get to do it again. I doubt it, but maybe. All right, Jason, you're up.
Can I go last?
You can go last.
Sure.
Fine.
Okay.
Who wants to go next, Hannah or Madison?
I'll go.
Oh, look at Hannah
Look at
stepping
that.
up to the plate,
I don't have
unlike
anything
Jason.
nearly as impactful of an answer as that. But for me, and mine is a little bit of an older case that you covered, but the Maura Murray case for me. I'd listened to podcasts, I'd researched it, I'd read about it. And for some reason, it just clicked with me, the theory, the car hit and run theory. And when you said that, it was just like, it just blew my mind, and it just reopened the entire case for me. I think I just rewound back to zero, just re-listened to everything. And that was my favorite one. It's a short answer, but the paint chip with Vassy, the paint chip.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what, Hannah, I love that you said that, though, because we always say we're not an investigative podcast because we don't have the time or the resources to go out and investigate. But that was like, when Brett pulled that out, I hadn't heard, we did not talk about that before, and my jaw just like dropped to the floor.
seriously. Yeah.
And I was like, I am in the presence of brilliance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I felt listening to it.
That's a great choice. Great choice. I like that one. Madison and Jason have some big shoes to fill and see if they can do it. Okay, Madison. Jason's still thinking. What do you think? And it's okay if it's one you researched. That's fine.
My favorite, no, it's actually not one that I researched. My favorite from this year, it was Murdaugh. It had to be Murdaugh. It was just so good. But I think my favorite of all time was Scott Peterson and then Casey Anthony. Those were my two all-time favorites, just because like those are the two cases where I just need someone to say that, yeah, they're absolutely horrible and they did this. Yeah, but those are my favorites. And then my favorite to research was Highway of Tears.
Okay. Excellent choice. Another one, and that's a amazing response on that one too. You know, I was worried about that, as I talked about, I think, in the episode. How are people going to react to an episode? And, you know, as you saw when you were researching it, there were so many cases we could have talked about. I mean, limiting it to the 9, 10, however many there were, was still limiting it a lot. But I think people, and we've done more like that since then. And thank you so much for your help on that. In those cases, you know, they need attention. And the problem is, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy where they need attention, but because they don't have attention, there's not enough information. So they don't get attention. So they continue to need attention. So I'm glad we were able to do that. And people responded so well to it. So
Yeah, if it not for Madison, we couldn't do it. But Madison, people like you who kind of crave that succinct reason, that's kind of why we started the so-and-so is guilty episodes, which get us a lot of hate. but and we obviously are not succinct people. So it's an exercise in judiciousness when we do those episodes. But you just reminded me that maybe we should do a couple more of those. Maybe you can help us with those.
Yeah, because you start to spiral. You see one article of like, maybe this person's innocent, and then you're like, but they can't be innocent. So yeah, those are great.
yeah, I can think of one really long series we did. We could do one of those episodes.
I don't think we need to revisit any long series. I think it's moving forward.
Oh, what is it?
I'm not doing that episode. I don't want to be.
Whatever, you did all the research for it. What are you talking about? Don't try and back out now.
Madison, do not let him bully
I didn't even join the team until after that was over.
Madison is totally going to get like, Twitter bombed or whatever it's called because you're spreading rumors.
Thankfully,
I'm not spreading rumors.
I don't have Twitter, so I won't even see it.
Good. I'm glad.
All right, Jason, your time has come.
Okay, so do you mind if I open up the curtain a little bit from behind the scenes?
Oh, wow.
Please.
It depends on what you're going to say.
All right, so my favorite was the end of Adnan. Okay, and the reason is because not only was your approach to that series so respectful of Heyman Lee, and both of your theories were very thoughtful and well presented. But early, before you guys did that series, when I was just editing, I don't remember what the series was, but I remember you guys talking off mic about having some nervousness approaching that case because you knew going into it that it was going to bring a lot of attention, and a lot of attention that wasn't going to be very flattering or positive. And you did it anyway. And you did it with, like I said, the respect that it so deserved. And I just think that's really, really admirable. And I loved hearing you guys do that. And then the other thing too is I think we saw Alice become a warrior in her closing statement in that. And that there was just fire there that I think was just unlocked. And I so enjoyed, hearing that. But again, to me, knowing you guys knew what the stakes were and you took them up anyway, I respect that about you both. And then if I had a runner up, this is at the end of last year, but Kyron Horman, I really liked the way that you guys handled that one too. And God bless that little boy.
Yeah, the ones with the kids, and there's so many of them. Those are the toughest ones, no doubt. Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. I tried to back out, but Alice was like, "No, we have to do it."
You guys, what the conversation he's talking about off mic, there are probably multiple conversations off mic about this, was me being like, let's not do it, Brett. Let's not do it. I have a family. I don't want people to throw tomatoes at us.
Well, and I would never say those things except that, like I really am very careful about, protecting anything that's not, for the show. I would never, I mean, we do the outtakes, and those are fun and whatever, and you guys don't ever say anything bad, but like, I just remember thinking like this, I want people to understand that you both understood what you were getting into and you were both prepared for it, and you've not backed down, and you've not been disrespectful to anybody else. In fact, you have stood up for other people who have been really not kind. And like, my respect for you both was already as high as I thought it could be, but like you just blew it out of the water because of the way that you operate. And so I just want everybody in the chat here tonight, and when they listen to this, to know, like, it's like you knew what you're getting into, and you still did it, and you did it with real integrity. And so I just appreciate that.
Jason, you're going to make me cry. It's not Christmas yet.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make you cry.
Well, I do have a question for you guys, because you are so a part of this team, and, we don't get to have the proverbial water cooler where we get to hang out. But as part of the team, I'm really curious, what case or what types of cases have we not covered that you want us to cover? Because if you want us to cover it, we'll cover it. So take a moment.
See, Madison is has a distinct advantage here since she's the one who's research. Who wants to go first? Jason, Hannah.
So I really like the historical or the mysterious, like the Dyatlov Pass stuff, or what was the lighthouse one?
I loved the lighthouse
Eileen
one.
Moore.
Yeah, I like those things. I really enjoy those just because I enjoy mysteries. Like DB Cooper or something like that. I would like love that kind of stuff. So like I love those historical mysteries, and I think those are fun. So they're easy to be fun because they're so they're so like I don't know.
And I love them too, Jason, because I know we have a lot of young fans, like a lot of parents let their kids listen to the historical ones because they're usually a lot less gruesome, and it's more of a mystery that, even young kids can listen to without, maybe getting them too scared too early. So those I really love as well. And we've been doing these, whenever you guys should know this is the same with our wonderful team here as well. Brett and I rarely say no. And so like teachers have reached out to us to do cases with their students, like young students. And we usually do these historical mysteries with them. And we always say yes. I don't think we've said no to anyone yet. So, this is just kind of in the spirit of we're all in it together. But thanks for reminding me about that, Jason, because I do think our young fans probably, at least it's a way maybe they can get their parents to let them listen to those.
Love it.
And we're going to do more of those. So, all right, Madison, what do you think? What do you want to do next?
I guess I have two. I agree with the historical mysteries because sometimes I think it's like your brain needs a break from the true crime a little bit, or at least the recent true crime. I don't think you guys have covered this one, but I would love if you would cover Chris Watt.
That's
man,
brutal one.
That's a brutal one.
They're already done. The drawings are ready.
That's another one where I'm like, he's horrible. I just need someone to tell me for an hour how horrible he is because
we've always said we would never do Chris Watt.
I mean, man,
I had to suggest it. You said you guys never say
every
no.
Now and then I get tempted to do it by some of the weird stuff people write online about that case, but I don't know I don't know.
I feel
that
like
was just so brutal. I made it through like 5 minutes of the documentary.
Maybe if we finally write a book, we'll just write a book on it because I don't know that I could keep my cool for an hour and talk about it.
Yeah, that guy.
It's tough because now when there's one I want, I can just pull it from the suggestion spreadsheet and start looking into it.
That's true. Madison is the keeper of the spreadsheet. So when you send your suggestions, they go straight to Madison. So email them to me because that way I can just forward them to Madison. That's the reason I like them in email. Okay, Hannah.
Okay.
I have two questions for you, Hannah. This one, but I also want to know, of the ones you've done, what was your favorite art to do?
Oh, there's a couple different tiers that things fall in for me. There's some things like Kyron Horman and I forget a couple, mostly involving children and missing people, where it's literally, it just has to be a portrait of them. Like there's just nothing else to say, especially if they're still missing. But my favorite one that I've done, it depends a lot for me when I do my little research. I hit images first, and then I write crime scene images. It's important for me. Objecthood is important for me. So there was a case, and I forget his name. Sorry, I have a terrible memory, where this man, I think, came down from Canada and was murdered in really, really unusual circumstances. And there were
Blair Adams. Yeah,
that's it. Yep, where they had some good pictures of the crime. I took forensics in high school, and I kind of briefly thought I was going to go that route before I went the art route, but I didn't have the stomach for it. But there's things like that where there's a really particular scene, or there's an image, even when you're reading about it, there's an image that sticks out. And so for me, my favorite one to do was the Texarkana murder, because it had to be the bag mask. It just had to be like I said, objecthood is really important. It's important for people. I think it's how news spreads too. Like there was a murder, he was wearing a bag over his head, or he had that Jason hockey mask. It's sensational, unfortunately, but sometimes it's what's most iconic about the case. So for me, it was some Texarkana sort of mixed with, oh gosh, what's his name? The hockey mask one with the creepy chronically online man.
Oh,
right.
Twitchell?
Yeah, Twitchell.
Twitchell.
Yep, that one.
The hockey mask was so creepy.
Yeah. And then there's another tier where I get to sort of imagine a scene, and those are the most fun for me. Like Adnan. I got to do so many for Adnan, and I got to really have fun with it. So I got to I superimposed Hayes' diary, and I like carefully redid all of her handwriting. And that was like also just an unusual moment for me where I was like really kind of putting myself in her shoes, and then placing like a vignette, like the picture of them at prom, the beeper, and the diary, and just sort of like key elements to the case. Yeah. And then
there's so many good ones you've done. Like I have so many favorites.
Thank you.
I think one of my favorites is the dog in the Scott Peterson case. I mean, that one was just, it's so simple yet perfect.
Sometimes I like to go left field with it, like,
well, the Pineapple Bowl and John Benet Ramsey. I mean, we did not talk about that, but you hadn't heard our episode where we pontificated about the pineapple in the bowl, and you just like delivered this gold. It was just like we were jiving without talking about it ahead of time.
The memes about how like men talk about the Roman Empire a lot. John Benet Ramsey is my Roman Empire. So
you did a lot of great ones for John Benet.
It was great. That was one of our first long, really long series. So you got to do a lot lot of different.
The one you did of the Delphi girls was great too. We got a lot of positive.
That was a tough one, obviously. That one searing.
Just the way you did them.
It was
like friends, I mean,
you gave them so much dignity back in that picture, which is what I really, really appreciated about it. Because obviously, as Delphi is currently still very much in the news, we forget about the victims, and we forget about like how they are such young, vibrant girls with the life snuffed out of them. And you went right before it all happened, which is what we would all like to remember, and I'm sure their families would as well. So I loved that particular artwork. It stopped me in my tracks.
Thank you. That one I went through a couple of rounds in the development phase, but overall they were there to have fun and be young, and that was taken away from them. So yeah, that's what I was trying to go for with that one. Yeah. Thank you, Alice.
Oh yeah.
I think you should do Madeline McCann.
Ah, yes, that's a great one.
I think we've started to research it multiple times, but man, these kids ones, they really do. They hit me.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't know. Oh, especially now that I have a girl. I had sons, and it hits me differently. Yeah, exactly.
Baby Brittany.
Baby Brittany. It's harder than I thought it would be. When we started, I didn't think it would kind of get to me as much as it does. But yeah. So we have a lot of questions, not to leave everybody else out. But Hannah, people are very fascinated by you. They want to know what kind of paint you use. They want to know, sort of questions about your style, like what your focus is, what your inspiration is, not just for our stuff, but for your art in general.
Oh, my art in general.
Sorry, Jason. Sound editing is not as interesting as art.
Hey.
He will teach you how to turn on your microphone. I promise.
I have a couple different mediums. So around the holidays, I do a lot of pet portraits for people. I have an Etsy, if anyone wants one. I use acrylic gouache for those kinds of things. I do illustration. I have a hard time calling myself an illustrator, although I don't believe that there should be any differentiation between fine art, in quotes, and illustration or any commercial art. I think they're all hand in hand. I've always had a little bit more of an illustrative bent in my paintings and my fine art, which I would say the themes, it's representational painting, larger oil paintings on stretched canvas. They're a little more dreamlike, and they're definitely less, they're more illustrative, but they're less clinical than the illustrations are. And they're dreamy, and they're about growing up in the deep South, and the whimsy and like the darkness, and like I have sort of an unusual upbringing. Like my great uncle was a prophet maybe I should say air quotes, prophet in a very, very small town in Northeast Alabama. And
Mountain?
very close. Love the the snake handlers on Sand Mountain. But I used to go to an Italian, this is such a tangent, sorry, but I used to go to an Italian restaurant in Sand Mountain that was also a gun range, and it was the most amazing food I've ever had. It doesn't exist anymore. They also sold hair bows. Anyway.
What more do you need?
That sounds amazing.
One-stop shop. Yeah, so I do that. And then I would say my other thing that I do is my graphic novel that I've been, and I'm not from that world at all of, like I said, illustration or graphic novels or sequential art like that. I am not of that world. So it's taken me many years to nail down a story that is also about the Deep South and a cryptid in the Deep South. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of the Alabama White Fang.
Oh,
Fang.
yeah.
Fang.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know it. It's about a girl that was raised in the woods by the Alabama White Fang in the post-apocalyptic landscape. But it's definitely more of a young adult thing. And I'm still like taking my time with that and hammering out all the kinks and learning about that world of like publishing too is like something I'm painfully illiterate about. But yeah, that's what I do.
Can you, a lot of people are asking, and maybe I'm just bad at finding things, can you like drop links into your website, your Etsy, whatever?
I'm really bad.
We'll put in the show notes as well. So if you're listening later on,
it's very easy. HannahHillArt.com is the website. That's my bodies of work of fine art. The illustrations, everything else would be Instagram. I'll drop a link in the comments. Sirius_Moonlight, LITE, Moonlight is my Instagram.
Yeah, and we tag her on pretty much everything on Instagram. So if you follow us on Instagram, you can find her.
I'm assuming it's Brett, but I always get tagged as like a really like sensitive part of the illustration, like, and it makes me laugh all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean,
thank you for making sure you know that it's a man who doesn't like recognize.
Well, I do it all on
much
purpose.
More sensitive.
I love
it. No. Thank you, Hannah. That's really helpful. Jason, I want people to hear more about your own podcast. I don't think we've talked about you editing our podcast, but Santa May Be a Criminal. Can you talk about just a little bit the genesis of that idea and the process of writing and then getting a bunch of people to record voices from all over and the editing that you have to do to put it all together to be as if we were in a studio recording together?
Yeah, I mean, so the show really developed based on a text thread. I'd wanted to do something fun. It was during the pandemic, and I wanted to actually write this as a TV series initially, and still want to develop it as that at some point, or a streaming series or something. But I just always had this thought that, this would be a fun concept to have a show about Santa Claus and all of his criminal behavior. And I mean, obviously he's breaking and entering, and obviously he's looking in on people while they're asleep, and obviously he's speeding and, breaking all these international laws, and there's so much. And so it just became this really kind of fun thing for me. And I wanted to, and everybody will hear this, we did this live thing, and thanks to Brett and Mrs. Brett for stopping by this weekend in Atlanta. We did something that we'll release here in, I guess, the coming weeks. We did a live panel. Jason Blair facilitated that, friend of this show and my show and every show, Jason Blair, and a bunch of other podcasters, and we talked about some of these things. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to make my show about having conversations about the things that we don't say in true crime because they're too serious and they trigger people too much, but to give them sort of a polish of humor, and so that we would not take things so seriously. And because I think that, frankly, we do take things too seriously, and that's why people get so upset, and there are these battle lines drawn, and we can actually have conversations with each other and get to a better space. The system is adversarial to get to the truth. It's not to create division, right? And so I wanted to sort of approach the true crime genre from the most from the sweetest position possible, and that was Christmas. And so my show is about a guy who is in Georgia but loves Alabama football. I've told Brett this. Okay. So almost every ambient television in my show, if you listen really hard, it's always 2nd and 26. And now it'll be 4th and 31 probably. But for 2nd and 26, that's when Alabama beat Georgia in the national title game a few years back. So, but anyhow, my goal was to actually bring a little bit of joy into the true crime space and to, create. I just wanted to write something that was funny and had good heart to it. And I wanted it to feel really messy at first because I think I wanted to mirror what a podcaster goes through as they are trying to create these shows, because everybody wants to have a podcast. And a lot of people start them and they don't finish them. And a lot of people start them and they're really messy in the beginning. And then they get a lot better as they go through. And that was sort of my dream, was to make the show feel like the audience was growing with the character, Richie Buck, who was the main character, who was nothing like me at all. He's really everything like me. And then, the show is, changed from, in the first season, and my tagline was, it's like Santa Claus is a suspect on Dateline in the South. And then this season, it's really a lot more hallmarky, a lot more, I recognize that the audience wanted to feel a little more joy. So I introduced a love interest for Richie in the season. And it's been really great. And it's so much fun. And, I came hat in hand to a bunch of people, you guys included, early on, to say, would you be a voice on my show? And you guys agreed. And, a few people agreed. I had a handful of people. I was writing it very small. And then suddenly people started listening to the show. And then people started saying, hey, when am I going to be on the show? I want to roll. I want to be on the show. Like Nick from True Crime Garage was like, when am I going to be on the show? I want to be on the show. And so I was like, okay, I'll write you as a bounty hunter. And so now he's a recurring character. And I gave him he said, I want, he emailed me. I said, so what do you want to do with this character? Because I try to write things in for people too. And he said, I want for the bounty hunter to have an eye patch, and it to be a recurring joke in the show. So at CrimeCon this year, I brought him an eye patch, and he walked around and made jokes with it. Just ask Lance from Crawlspace about that. What he told me was very funny about that. But so it has become this really, really great thing and great community thing. And, I try to make sure that when I'm writing things in for people, the people that are on the show, that I'm giving them something very special. For instance, Shiloh from LA Not So Confidential, you guys have mentioned a few times their show, and so her daughter plays an elf in the show. And in season 1, I let Sydney, who's her daughter, I did not change her voice to sound like an elf. And I told Shiloh, I said, my gift to you is she will always now be 9 years old for you.
Oh, you're making me cry.
But in season 2, I'm going to change your voice because that's the right move for the show. And
went to the factory, right?
Because of the factory, because of the fumes in the workshop. And so that's how I justified it in terms of the story. But the point is, this show that I've written is so far beyond something that I created. It's something that every person that is a part of this show has created with me. And I'm very intentional about the way that I approach giving the gifts. It's a Christmas gift. That show is a Christmas gift to every person that's a part of it. And because everybody that's been a part of it has been a gift to me in some kind of way, because nobody has to be a part of it. So it's really special to me that I'm able to do it. It's the best thing I've ever done. A couple movies end up in theaters and Like, not, I made no money basically on any of that, but like my dream was always, I want to see my movie in a theater, since I was 17 years old, and that happened. But Santa Maybe a Criminal is by far eclipses any creative endeavor that I've ever achieved, because I've been able to do it with people that are really special to me. So yeah, and so the fun part of it is I get to produce it with you all, and I send lines out. Sometimes some people I need to get on calls with and direct them. Some people just send me takes, and I just take it in and try to make it sound as realistic as possible, like it's Richie out in the field. But it's the greatest joy of my life that I've been able to do it, especially with the two of you. So thank you both for helping me do that.
Well, we're really excited about the rest of the seasons. Everybody's got a lot to look forward to.
It's going to be great. And people have asked, I know in the chat, like, I know that we're a little bit of a delay. There's a reason I can't necessarily speak about that. The reason there's a little bit of delay, I'm trying to get that sorted out so that I can get the episodes delivered and to everybody. I can promise you this: if you hang on, you're going to love the way season 2 ends, and then Chet and Sally are going to come strong and hard in season 3 with their case against Santa Claus. So you're going to want to stick around for that too. But I will say this: I think the season finale of season 2 is maybe the best thing I've ever written, and I've written probably 10,000 screenplay pages, and I think that 50 pages is probably the best representation of my work and what I want to do. So stick around. It's going to be really, really good, I promise. And then there's going to be a lot more after that you're going to love, I hope.
Jason, you need to snip that right there. This is the best I've written. I've written 10,000 things. You need to snip that, and then we need to make that like a TikTok. I'm serious. That would be great. Great advertisement. We'll put it in our stories.
I'm so bad at TikTok, but I will do it.
Or stories, Insta stories, whatever. I'm old, so I do TikTok on stories.
I'll do any of those things if you will help me.
And you're absolutely. And look at that awesome artwork. We should start doing this more too. Brett and I have talked about it. We need to be better at our social media presence. But same with you, Hannah. If you have, things that you're doing, things you're, whatever you want, we'll feature it on our stories or however people consume real time media. Whatever that's called. I'll figure it out somehow.
So this is the piece of art that I own. This is the one hanging over my shoulder. I'm like figuring out how to do this as we go. So
yeah, that is really cool. Madison, you've been so patient over there. I actually don't know, because people always say, oh, you guys do so much. We don't do so much. You do so much. So finance, you guys already know that Madison is incredibly smart, but working full-time in finance, was this something, do you have a background in broadcasting, in kind of the media arts? How did you even think to step out in a lot of risk, but to do something so brave?
I minored in communications in college, but aside from that, and then I worked a little bit in marketing for a radio station in college, but other than that, I didn't have any background. I was just kind of feeling like I wanted to branch out from what I was doing in my full-time job and do something else, something else that I really enjoyed that would feel fulfilling to me. And so it was a good lesson, and you got to put yourself out there if you want to, if you want to make a change. So reached out to you guys, and
you're getting to see kind of Jason and Hannah grow with us, and you're the newest member of our team, and hopefully you'll be with us forever. But kind of speaking into existence, where do you see what you're doing in 5 or 10 years? Like, if you could have your, Santa's here tonight and he can grant wishes, what do you see yourself in terms of, you stepped out in a lot of confidence here. It's made our lives so much better, our podcast better. But for you, what do you hope to be doing in 5-10 years?
That's a great question. I mean, I love researching. I want to continue doing that. other than that, I don't know that I have like a grand plan for where I want it to go. Just kind of happy seeing where it takes me. Maybe I'll be a big researcher working for all these podcasts in 10 years, but I'm happy. I'm happy here with the prosecutors, just doing my research and working full time. So, yeah.
Be careful. You've just made the offer out there, and everyone listening, I'm pretty sure they're going to be knocking down your door, and we're going to have to hold them back. Be like, wait, save time for us, Madison. We will never hold you back.
This will be my home. You guys are the best to work for, so.
Well, we are truly so lucky to have you, and I really want you to know that, especially with a young child. I don't know how you find the time to research, because my mind just goes kaput by the end of the day.
You know, they sleep at some point. So.
Please keep telling me that.
At some point.
Well,
at some point.
Mine doesn't, but I hear some of them do eventually. So.
Well, we are so honored to get to work with you guys, and thank you so much for joining us to do this Christmas episode. We wanted everybody to get introduced to you guys. We talk about y'all all the time, but to be able to put, you know, if they're patrons and they're here live, put a face to a name, but a voice to a name, if nothing else, if you're just listening later on. And this episode, when it airs, well, I guess the day after Christmas. Christmas is on a Monday this year, and we got to have an episode because we don't have to take weeks off. So this episode will air then. So I hope you guys out there have had a Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody here with us today will have a Merry Christmas going into the future. You guys know how I feel about October. I love October. I love Halloween. Christmas, definitely my second favorite holiday. So I'm enjoying this, watching a lot of Hallmark movies, getting my Hallmark fill in. But love Christmas, and Merry Christmas to all of you. Is there anything else anybody wants to say before we sign off? We got a long sign off. It's going to be a long sign off. So
you guys are all part of the sign off.
Everybody's got to sign off. So we're going to go.
I do want to say something.
Okay.
I just want, both of you to know how much you mean to me. Hannah, I've admired your work a lot. I'm going to commission you for something. Madison, I have a podcast that I might need some help researching that I want to develop next year. And I'm really very, very sincerely appreciative of being a part of this team. I admire all of you so much, and I'm really grateful that you let me tag along and be around once in a while, and also Roll Tide.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. Roll Tide. All right. Well, it's been great having all of you. It's been great having everybody who's listening, but all good things must come to an end. Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Next time you hear us, it'll be a new year. But until then, I'm Brett.
I'm Jason.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Madison.
And I'm Alice.
And we are the Prosecutors. Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Next time you hear us, it'll be a new year. But until then, I'm Brett.
Who are you pointing at?
Whoever. I'll finish it. You guys go.
Okay, let's try it again. I can edit that part out.
Okay, so how about we go me, then, the line I'm looking at is Jason, Hannah, Madison, and then Alice. How's that sound?
Okay, let's do this. Perfect.
Okay.
maybe for another artist, it would be just visuals, but what you've done for the artwork is something it transcends. Like I said, it really is the essence of these shows. And so do not undermine the incredible work that you do.
I literally could not ask for better people to work for.